Okay, so we will officially call our meeting to order at 4:02. We will note that Ms. Hobbs is going to be joining us shortly via Zoom due to a family issue, but we're going to go ahead and an incident. So if you're joining us at home, welcome. We appreciate you being here, but we're going to go ahead and start off with our meeting. It is a short agenda, but kind of a little bigger. So we'll start off. We don't have any guests with us today, so we'll move to item B, which is approval of the agenda. It is a special called agenda, so we can't make any changes to it. So we just have to vote to approve it. Okay. A motion by Ms. Bowers, a second by Ms. Hill. Any discussion?
Nope.
Okay, all in favor of approving our agenda for today, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Awesome. As we don't have any guests, does anybody here have a public comment they would like to publicly state? Okay, awesome. Moving on to our first item on the agenda, which is the section 6 budget. Section 6 budget. Enunciate those S's and C's. So what you have here is you have our recommended budget. This is kind of we do approve it, but we have flexibility here. We can move throughout the year. We can move funds from one line item to another line item. The only line item that gets spent in about 5 seconds is Jan's line item, which is library books. So she spends, so you can see we've pulled the actual amounts from fiscal year 19, which is the fiscal year is always the year it ends. Okay. So like 19 is the 18-19 school year, 20 is the 19-20 school year. And then there's an average that says actual average. And then the gray column for you guys is the proposed amounts. So we have $46,750 there. The bulk of that money sits in general supplies, just to be used. It's at the very bottom in that gray column. So the bulk is in that area. We still have
I had to explain to some people that we move money around. So
yes,
stuff that was zero all the way across that has an amount, I was like, it just means that we ended up moving.
Yes, yeah. So like some areas, like we have, like, so for example, under principal's office, you'll see contingency. For the last 5 years, that's been a zero value, but we're still always required to set aside a portion of our budget for each year. And then at the end of the year, if we don't have any massive disasters that we have to fund here, that would be like every single table in the library broke and we need to have some money to spend, then we could use that contingency for that. So it's just kind of a placeholder for that money. Yeah, school just bought, I think Julius Marks just bought all new tables, but didn't get new chairs. I'm like, you did that all wrong. The tables aren't the bad stuff. Like the chairs are the. So, so you can see kind of where we're projecting, but again, everything can be moved in this. So I can go line by line.
No,
we can approve, and
do we need to approve now the ability to move things, or we'll do
that in the fall. So that'll come in the fall where you grant the authority for us to move things. So today it's just approving that this is our, what's my typo?
Our library box.
I like library box.
I know.
Thank you. This is only a local thing, so this only just stays with us. So
I just general question of like the trend, is it just it went up and then back down? Is that just enrollment?
Yes, it's all based on enrollment. So this is, and we do get adjusted at day 10.
Okay.
So if you remember this past year, we actually lost money from our adjustment because our enrollment came in so much lower than we initially. So that's why this year says revised, because we had to shift a lot of things around. We had to take some of Jan's money from library books to fund it. There wasn't much left, but so yes, it just accounts for that. And like if you look in like 19, the fiscal year 19 and fiscal year 20, that was right when fiscal year 20 was when the pandemic hit. and we were allowed to carry forward a lot more money. So we just didn't spend any money at the end there. Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the Section 6 budget? Motion by Ms. Russell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gherkin. I gotta make sure I watch for Ms. Hobbs to pop in. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving our Section 6 budget, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Awesome. So the final item on our agenda today is the staffing discussion. So we'll run through and just kind of talk about what's happened since our last meeting and present a recommendation to everyone. So we're going to look at some budget scenarios and then I'll share with you the recommendation from our school leadership team. So we did complete a Section 7 request, which these were bonus positions. From what I am hearing and gathering, Dr. Liggins approved a position at every school, which was great that he kind of gave us some purview of here's this extra money that we could say what we wanted to do. So our first three, the things we requested was an EL teacher, an intervention teacher, and a family community liaison. They approved us for the EL teacher. They didn't approve intervention. Family community liaison was not approved either, but they took whatever your first, from what I've heard, it's your first request. That was what got approved. And so EL was allowed that. Here comes Ms. Hobbs. So the next page in your packet just goes over kind of the process that we followed. I'm not going to talk about that. So I will review where we stand right now, kind of with our, whoa, come back. There we go. Where we stand with our minimum requirements to function and where we're at. So to function, we need to have 15 primary teachers. That will be 4 teachers at kindergarten, 4 teachers at second, 4 teachers at third, and 3 teachers at first grade to start the year. Intermediate is 6 teachers, which is 3 teachers at fourth and 3 teachers at fifth. That will keep everybody below cap as we sit right now. And there's space at all 3 of those 3 team grade levels. There is significant space available. So if we got an influx of kids, it's not going to put somebody over cap at day 11 where we're at. Additionally, we have EL teachers. We have 3 of those. One of them is funded through Section 7. So that is just a bonus position that we have. It's a 1-year thing. So we'll have to reapply next year if we want to continue those services. Special area teachers, in order for a rotation to function, we need 4 positions. Intervention teachers, we need 2 to function. GT teachers, we need 0.6. Clerical, we need 2. And then additionally, we have the principal, the assistant principal, special ed paras, Spanish, counselor, mental health, FRC, custodial, and band and orchestra that we get as well. So some things that we don't have that we currently have is 2 classroom teachers, an EL teacher, the family community liaison, a special area teacher, 3 kindergarten paras, supplemental duties, and Section 6 carry forward. So that's where we started. So then our staff and our team leads, we asked them to rank their priorities. And this is still the same information. So they wanted to move forward with starting with 1 teacher and 1 para. So the first priority was an EL teacher. Since that was paid through Section 7, the whole leadership team said, cool, we're comfortable. We would love to have 4 that like we have now, but 3 is comfortable. Special area teacher was number 2, GT and intervention were 3 and 4. So based on that, we presented some scenarios. I will tell you there was a 4th scenario, but no one was even in favor of that one. So I just deleted it off of here. And it dealt with GT, funding more of a GT position, but it wasn't even going to bring us to a full position. It was still going to be a point something. So for our sake, I just removed it off of here. So the staff was presented with 3 scenarios, a special area teacher and 1 kindergarten para, which would leave us with about $2,000 of extra money that we have, which could be used for supplemental duties. So, because right now, if we do some of these other scenarios, we won't have any supplemental duty money, which is the money to be used for after-school programs or just additional activities. Scenario 2 is a special area teacher, 1.5 kindergarten paras. And for that, we would need to use $14,000 from our after-school fund, which is that extra money. Scenario 3 is a special area teacher, which brings us to 5. All of these are that special area teacher, and 2 kindergarten paras, which we would need to use $30,000 from our after-school fund. So based on those 3 proposals, our council or our instructional team leadership team voted to go with scenario 3, which is the special area teacher, 2 kindergarten paras, and using the $30,000 from our after school. We currently have $32,000 in our after school account. I did get the fall check from the Y, and it was only $5,000. So the profit this year is not as high as the profit last year. So I don't know if they were, I'm trying to get clarification on where the profit stands. But they have been buying a lot more stuff this year. A lot more items come in, a lot more Oriental trading activities have been coming in, a lot more boxes. So
And then there's a lot of stuff they sent out too.
yes, so that's what, just trying to figure out, okay, where is our profit margin going and how do we adjust that? So that's a work in progress that we go through. So based on this, in order to do what is on this screen, and this is what I'm presenting as the recommendation to the council for
Can we
approval.
revisit that for just a moment?
Yes,
So I think we discussed it before about the quality of care,
yes,
and that that was discussed with them, and then they offered us this profit sharing.
yes,
So now we sign a contract and commit to them, and now we're getting less money.
Mhm. We have not re-signed for next year.
Okay,
So
I'm
we're
just saying,
still-
like,
yes.
that was. I
Excuse
think
me,
that's something
instead
to
of
ponder.
profit, 30% of like enrollment fee or whatever.
Yeah, so I'm working to
Yeah.
renegotiate and figure out how things
I'm
stand.
just saying, like, I think it sounded really good when we got like, you know,
26.
26, but we're getting
Yeah,
5.
that's the
I'm not
third,
sure that
yeah.
that's.
Yeah.
That's worth the wear and tear on the building, I should say.
Right. So yes, so those are all things that are being worked on behind the scenes as we move forward with everything. And I mean, if that's what we're going to be getting, then we will be reconsidering ESP because we stayed with Primetime because of the amount of money that they were able to present us. So those are the discussions and the questions we're having with them, but they are not the easiest people to reach. The people
Well,
that
that might
actually
be
have
something to think
decision-making
about.
power within them. So, okay, so with our staffing recommendation, so for this, we would use our whole entire district allocation. We would use all of our ESSER ARP money. So that's $75,000. We would use all of that. We would use all of our supplemental duty money. So that's $13,550. We would use all of our Section 6 carry forward, which is roughly $8,600. And then we would need to use $30,000 from our after-school program, which leaves us with $2,000. Now, we talked a lot about at the leadership team that we're gambling here because we're looking at, if you look down in this bottom corner, the day 10 potential. If our numbers hold at where they're at and where they think we're going to be, then we would be getting an additional certified position after day 10,
Which is 60.
which is $66,417.
And it's the money for like, you don't have to hire.
We don't have to hire. So we just get, we get that blanket amount of money. So my recommendation would be to replenish the after school, not actually spend that money, keep that and just kind of keep banking whatever we can and use that to go with our rainy day, because next year we're going to lose the ESSER ARP fund. So we just have to be mindful of that. So it does make me a little nervous to go away, take all of it. So we could choose to purchase an additional instructional para and then replenish supplemental duties. So those are just some things that we could do with it. My first recommendation would be, let's get our rainy day fund back. So the official recommendation to the council is that we have 21 classroom teachers. That's the 15 and the 6 that we discussed. have the 3 EL teachers, those are all district provided, have 4 special area teachers and a media specialist. This would allow us to keep art, music, Spanish, and PE. Now, we are going to have to reimagine how we do things and where Spanish links in, how we, because with having fewer classes, there's going to be a little bit more open time. So just, yes. So we're going to have to be more creative in looking at how do these people best serve our students in all their capacities and use their knowledge the best. GT teachers would stay at the 0.6. Instructional paras, we're going to put that at 2. I would like to intentionally call them instructional paras instead of kindergarten paras, so that we can, if the need arrives, they're going to be placed in kindergarten to start. But if the need arrives, we have some flexibility to adjust them to where the need sits. If they are strictly a kindergarten para, we run into some legal issues with job duties and titles. So if we title them instructional paras, I still want them to service kindergarten, but this would allow them, if there's a need in 1st grade or 2nd grade, that we can then repurpose them to those environments. If they're kindergarten paras, we're kind of tied down to that. It would still be the same individuals in that role. Intervention teachers, 2 of those, and clerical, 2. So that is the recommendation to the council. So I'll open the floor for any questions, comments, discussion, anything that you want to share in regards to this recommendation.
And this recommendation includes scenario 3.
Yes, this is scenario 3. So this is what we felt was going to give us the best of everything, where we could keep the special area. We got the EL that we wanted, and we got the most K paras through our gamble that we're going to get this person on day 10.
And would it be up to kindergarten teachers, like how they're splitting around?
Yes. Yeah. And
Their schedule.
they're already working on it, and we've been in conversations of creating it so like their guided reading would be 2 of them would have guided reading for 1 hour, and then the other 2 would have guided reading for the next hours, so that they can then have the paraeducators in the guided reading times, so that they are most utilized to be able to work with kids and do that. So they are already working on that. Kindergarten would of course love 3, 4. They would love it. They are comfortable at this 2. They are not happy. They were really concerned about the 1, but they are comfortable at the 2 level with that. No one's like, woo, we have 2 K pairs, but they're at a comfortable stage.
Easier to equally divide time with 2 than
Yes.
it is 1, 1.5. Because I think with 3, even though they've been doing it, I still think that, somebody is always going to have less time. And
Yes.
that's just the way it goes. So
I mean, to me, it seems smart. I mean, I think that even if you're taking a gamble, our enrollment's up from what it was last year, like before we
Mhm.
even start. We're doing more proactive things to get kids in here. So I feel like it's a good game. You know what I mean?
And I feel pretty confident in this day 10. Like, I would not be bringing this to you if I wasn't like pretty comfortable that we'd get there. If we had done this gamble last year, we would have lost.
Right.
So, but
But we were already like double
yes,
from last year, like already.
yes,
So I feel like that's good
yes,
and we're moving in the right direction.
yes.
I mean, it does suck for kindergarten teachers. But you could also ask for help from parents to see if they can come in and volunteer.
Yeah.
And like help with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and like to start the year, we're going to be very intentionally scheduling intervention staff, EL staff, those staff that have a more relaxed start to their school year. They will be intentionally placed in kindergarten. I spend a lot of time in kindergarten at the start of the year, just trying to get them up. We're probably going to need some help in 1st grade this year, just with some of the students that are coming up. And but we're going to be very intentional and making sure that kindergarten has support, because any kindergarten teacher will say the first month is insane and it gets a little bit better and then it gets a little bit worse. And then but that first month
Some
is the
kids, like,
routine.
Don't go to pre-K
Yes,
and they just come into school.
yes.
Yeah,
They've never been in school and
which is,
Feral.
Yeah.
Yes.
Feral is a more politically correct word than I was going to use, so that's good.
The only thing I'll have to say is I do have concerns of the master schedule in that first grade, fourth grade and fifth grade will have 3 teachers. So that's, in a 5-day rotation, that's 2 of the days there isn't rotating.
Mhm.
In. The other thing I will, what? Oh, the other thing I will say is that, I think by cutting or choosing to purchase a special area teacher, instead of bringing us back to 4 ELs, that we're gonna feel that. It'll be a difference.
Yes.
It'll be a difference that will affect kids and student achievement, and, we're held accountable for our EL scores and those children taking the, competency test, which has just blanked my mind. What is it called?
Access.
Access, thank you. That's part of our accountability, and that, that does give our EL students less access to direct instruction. So that will be changes for that. And, I think we're doing pretty well. So I think that that's going to be a difference for us. And I know that there are gives and takes, and
Mhm.
but I think that that's just my two cents.
Yes.
The numbers looking like in intermediate for EL population.
It depends on the day. We've enrolled a few, we've lost a few. The ones that are in 4th and 5th are long-term ELs. They're either, the older kids are either one of 2 populations. They're either long-term ELs, they've been here since kindergarten, they've been in, and they're still struggling, or they are brand new to the country. We have a student that's enrolling tomorrow that's brand new to the country. She's going into 5th grade. We have a student that's in 3rd grade who started yesterday, I think, brand new to the country. So we're starting to see those things. And I mean, if we start to see an explosion, I will be going downtown to the EL office and saying, okay, we need more.
I mean, I
We've
do
seen
have
this.
Some concerns there, especially if UK starts letting.
Yes.
Starts opening up and letting people in, we're in trouble.
Yes.
I think the day 10 will actually benefit us.
Maybe,
Rather
because
than the day
school-
4,
yeah.
because they typically enroll later. And come
Well, they
in,
don't
and
enroll
so-
till UK starts, and that's
Right.
always after
Mhm.
day 4.
Right.
And we're always like, but wait. But
Yes.
wait,
So
But the
that
other
may
thing
benefit
too
us,
about
so.
that population is because parents are in an academic environment, so there's a different
Mhm.
culture towards education. That helps.
Yes,
Whereas,
however,
Maybe
we
that-
have had some surprises.
yes.
How many EL kids get full, like, are in the program?
We service every single student that is identified as EL. They all get
How many though in the school,
we're at 25%, so it's roughly
Okay.
120
Okay.
kids that get pulled out. With going to 3, we will have to kind of reimagine that, and we may have to take some of our higher performing, more language or English proficient students and rely on them in more of a general ed co-teach setting.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, all my kids had to do speech, but they get pulled there's 4 of them and it's the same like letter they're working on. So
Yes.
I'm kind of like.
Yes, and we would,
Same level.
yeah, we would target, and we're doing currently at 2nd and 3rd grade, we are trying to implement a new reading intervention called RISE. That's in collaboration with an interventionist, an EL teacher, and a classroom teacher. So those kids are getting EL services, general education services, and intervention services all in 1 hour. And it's a pretty intense program, but we're seeing good data from the 2 grades that are doing it right now.
And I do know they look at their access scores and say like, this is your access score. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily, they don't all have to be like 4th graders, like there might be a 3rd grader, if it, kind of combine the groups. I think they're going to be pretty creative.
Yes,
and-
and like there with the master schedule, with whether we're going to a 4-day or a 5-day, that's still up in the air. We haven't decided that if we're going to pull something out of the rotation, if we're going to say take media center out of the rotation and allow that to be push in to collaborate with teachers and then do checkouts, or if we're going we're going to be meeting with the special area team to talk about that and really look at how can we be creative and get the most service for our kids within that.
So what's the concern when you go down to 3? Could you explain that more to me? Like
With 3, it
classes?
just makes a lot more open time
Well,
for
I
the
think,
special
yeah, so you'd
teachers?
essentially have
Okay.
one day where, because if there's only 4 classes, then there'd be one day where one special wouldn't have any kids.
Oh, the way
Essentially,
it's scheduled.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then, you have 3 classes with 3, so then you've got that extra, so two plannings basically on one day, so it's just a lot of extra time where we don't actually work with kids.
Okay. I do know that like my son specifically would like Mr. Newsom, when he would have downtime, like he would do math with him, like they would like pass the ball together and things like that. Which like is constructive and it's like really movement oriented, so like that was really helpful. So like that may be something that they can do in those moments and pick specific kids based upon like what they need in that sense. That may be able to like fill gaps there
Yes.
to help.
Yeah, and we've also looked at with GT dropping to 0.6 instead of full, there's some concern about loss of instruction for our primary talent pool kids, especially our kids that are in the creative or performing arts. And so we've talked about utilizing the special area staff to help to provide some of that enrichment for kids that are gifted in arts, like that
Yeah.
Mr. Boone could do that, or gifted in music, Ms. Turner could do that, and we can be that. So that's our goal, is to be really creative in how do we allow them to be experts in their field and support kids in that in a way that's going to be meaningful. It's not more work on the classroom teacher to have to find them something to do.
Right.
And
Do
help.
you know of other schools who have situations like that and what they do? Like, have you?
It is very sporadic. Like it is, I think right now, currently we've had lots. Everybody has lots right now. Next year, there's a lot of schools cutting, going down, but it's a lot of open schedules, the primary talent pool. It's kind of hit or miss of what's,
Have you
They
gathered
actually do.
information about like what they do and what? might
Yeah,
be
and that-
different
yeah,
to
I-
have Options?
yes, yeah. So and I'm waiting to hear back from a bunch of them, like, okay, how do you structure it? I will say, I have yet to find a situation that's like, woo, this is the most amazing thing where we're like, because you're either like, the special area teachers are like, okay, I'm doing something that's totally outside of my skill level. Like some schools have their special area teachers on their time off, they're teaching a math intervention group. And like, there are some that are like, I've never taught math. Like I went to school to be an art teacher. So they do things like that. And that can get really hard because then you have a different person teaching that intervention every single day. We may do targeted like behavioral supports for certain kids, like, hey, on your if your time that you have an open spot is Mondays, during this 8 to 8:30, you're going to go and do a social skill with this kid. Like, and so just be more structured and targeted. And that's really going to come down to how does our special area team feel they can be best utilized and support it, because it's the balance of providing an amazing enrichment opportunity for our kids, but also on the flip side, having a lot of extra time. That's the big difference.
To go help kindergarten. if they
Mhm.
can.
Yes, like, yeah, if we get that, like, that's that start's gonna be kindergarten.
But like, we're gonna do our best.
Okay, any other comments, questions, discussion? Is somebody ready to make a motion to approve?
Will kindergarten parents be notified that like there's not gonna be a para in each class? Like, do you think that will deter people?
We're not going to make it in very public, other than what is happening right here. It's not, there is not gonna be a formal announcement.
I don't know, like, there's only there's 3 right now.
Right, we are reducing by 1 from what we have.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not that different.
I will also say there are very few schools in Fayette County that have a full-time kindergarten assistant. Like,
Mhm.
very few.
Okay.
Yeah, some schools have gone to, yeah, you get one, but it's only half-time. Like, we have 4 people, but they're only 0.5. So everybody gets a 0.5 person. So
I
they're,
do have another question.
Uh-huh.
So like those paras right now, like are doing a lot of like the bus and like the drop off and stuff. I guess you're only losing one position, so it's not.
Yep, and that'll, yeah,
Bad.
we will just have to
already-
inherit that and
Yeah, okay.
be creative in that, and it may mean we have less staff that's available inside in the hallways to do some supervision, that we may need those staff outside. So since classroom teachers are in the hallways in the morning.
Okay.
So we'll just have, with like duties, we will have to be creative. I mean, going to 2, that's gonna change our lunch duty schedule. It's gonna change a lot of things. Mhm.
I mean, it makes sense to me. All motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Ms. Hill. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. A. Any additional discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the staffing recommendation, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So at this time, let me get back to agenda. We are to our adjournment section. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
I will.
Motion by Ms. A, second by Ms. Lane. All in favor of adjourning our meeting, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for joining us at home. Ms. Hobbs, have a great evening. So thank you, guys.